Hi, I'm Courtney Larson and I'm the dietitian for Integrated Services at Kalamazoo. Today I'm going to show you how to make a vegetable stir-fry recipe from our cookbook, My Culinary Journey, Part 2. A quick note, this doesn't have a ton of protein in it, so if you're looking to add a protein source, you can always add a hard-boiled egg, sunny side up egg, some chicken, a plant-based protein such as tofu or tempeh, or you can just leave it as is. So ingredient-wise for our recipe, we have 3 tablespoons of oil today. We have 1 bell pepper that we're gonna cut up and chop. We have a couple carrots that we chopped up and diced for a recipe. We have 1 cup of broccoli. And then we also have 1 cup of mushrooms. So I've prepped all of this for you. I'm gonna show you how to go through with the pepper today. And then we also have a half a cup of low sodium soy sauce. Making sure you buy the low sodium version is really, really important because soy sauce in general is quite high in sodium. And if you're looking to control your blood pressure, this is the way to go. We also have 1 cup of rice that I've already pre-prepared. We have 2 green onions that we're gonna cut up as well. So to begin this recipe, we're going to, or if you're at home, you're gonna begin to cook your rice first. So the way that you cook rice is that it is a 2-to-1 ratio. So it's really easy to remember. If you have 1 cup of rice, you're gonna need 2 cups of water. You're gonna put that in a pot. Different from pasta, you usually wait until the water boils to add your pasta. We're gonna add the rice in before the water even begins to boil. So you're gonna let that boil, you're gonna cover it with a lid on low to medium heat, and you're gonna cook it until all of the water is absorbed. So if we were doing that today, we'd get that going and we'd make the rest of this recipe while that's happening. So our next step is to wash and prep all of our vegetables. So these are already prepped for us. I'm gonna go ahead and prep our bell pepper. So the easiest way to cut up our bell pepper is to cut off the top, set it aside, because then that gives you a really flat side to cook from and you can avoid having to pick out all of the seeds from your recipe. I'm just go along and chop my corners. And then from here, I'm gonna cut it into strips. And I'm gonna turn them and I'm gonna cut the other way to create our dice. So you wanna make sure our dice is relatively the same size so everything cooks evenly. Okay, now that we have that done, we're gonna set these aside. Our next step is we're gonna cook all of our vegetables. So I'm gonna turn on our pan. And I'm gonna put it on high heat and I'm gonna add our oil to the pan. So we want our oil to get fairly hot, so I'm gonna wait to add our vegetables until I can feel quite a bit of heat coming from our pan. So once I feel a good amount of heat coming from my pan, you can see how low my hand is to the oil, I'm gonna go ahead and add our vegetables. So I'm gonna wait to add our broccoli a little bit later, just because we have frozen broccoli today that's been thawed, so it's a little bit softer than what raw broccoli would usually be, so it doesn't need to cook as long. I'm gonna go ahead and add my mushrooms. So you can tell that the pan got hot enough because when I add something, you can hear it sizzling. I'm gonna add our bell pepper. And then our carrots. And I'm gonna let these cook until they become tender or really soft. And this is gonna take, depending on your heat in your oven, about 6 to 8 minutes. And once I feel the carrots start to soften, because they're our toughest vegetable here, I'm then gonna add our broccoli. So once I can see that my carrots are beginning to soften and cook, tell by that when they're easily able to cut through. then gonna add our broccoli. So about the same time that your vegetables finish cooking, your water should be or is already absorbed into our rice. So that means your rice is done. So what you'll do next is you're gonna take your rice and you're gonna put it onto your plate. Like that. And then you're gonna take your soy sauce and you're gonna drizzle it into your pan. If you want to add a little bit more flavor, we also have 2 tablespoons of rice wine vinegar in our recipe. You can find that by the soy sauce in the World's Food section of your grocery store. Feel free to add it. If it's not something that you want to purchase, you're not required to. The recipe will still turn out really well. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour that in. I'm gonna mix it all together and then I'm gonna remove it from the heat. I'll let the vegetables soak it in. And then I add my veggies to the plate for the rice, and then your recipe is complete. And take it off the heat and add a good serving of vegetables. And if you want a little bit more flavor to your food, you can go ahead and, you know, scoop up some of that soy sauce and the rice wine vinegar and just drizzle it over. And this is what it'll look like.